full support for Ukrainian sovereignty, the illegality of the planned elections in the occupied territories of the Donbass, and a call for the immediate withdrawal of the Russian armed forces from Ukrainian territory. These points became key during the UN Security Council meeting in New York on October 30th.
Despite these efforts, however, there's been little progress in talks to end the fighting. The conflict in eastern Ukraine, now in its 5th year, remains an active threat to international peace and security.
On November 11th, Moscow plans to hold so-called elections in the occupied Luhansk and Donetsk regions of Ukraine. Ukraine's representative in the UN called the plan a typical Kremlin provocation and a desire to abrogate the Minsk agreements.
None of us here has a crystal ball into the future, but there are indications that these so-called elections may serve as a stepping stone towards a new cycle of the Russian armed aggression.
Russia's representative accused Kiev and the West of not fulfilling the Minsk agreements. He also complained about the European sanctions and repeated all the usual narratives of Russian propaganda. The fact that the Kiev authorities do not comply with the Minsk agreements, you are to blame, the European Union and the United States. Russia is, so to say, paying the price for this with Western sanctions imposed on it.
As it has become plainly obvious from the Russian statement, the Russian delegation is preoccupied first and foremost with using the Council platform to wage its disinformation campaign with regard to Ukraine and to accuse the Ukrainian government of everything and anything that happens in the occupied territories.
The result of the UN Security Council meeting showed that the isolation of Moscow on the world stage continues. This was reported by the president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, on his Facebook page. The head of state also noted that the Kremlin has to stop its violent aggression in the Donbass.